The Board of Directors of the All Sports Museum of Southern New Jersey, formerly the Bridgeton Hall of Fame. I'd like to welcome all of you to the Officers Club of the New Jersey Motorsports Park and inductions of Thunderbolts Jim McCormick, Anthony Bubba Green, Brian Surace, Bob Surace, as well as a recognition of the 1975 undefeated Millville High School Thunderbolt New Jersey Group 4 state champions. In order to keep the program moving after the inductions and recognitions of the former players and coaches, as well as all those accepting for players and coaches who are not able to attend, we will immediately be serving a plated lunch of Caesar salad, chicken parmesan, cheesecake, including rolls, coffee, and tea, preceded by a blessing by the Reverend Kenyon. After all is finished, it is requested that those interested travel to the All Sports Museum of Southern New Jersey, located at 8 Richie Cates Way in Bridgeton. The museum is located just past the Bridgeton High School Stadium at the end of the street. We are especially thankful for the sponsorship of this event, Ed and Marilyn Salmon, Kim Shalleck Downs of Salmon Ventures, and the Thunderbolt Club of Millville. We would like to thank Jim Quinn of Quinn Broadcasting and Scott Shepard for helping us with recording and photographing today's events. On the tables up front here, you'll see there's some autographed items of some professional athletes who we've had at our museum that we are selling at a very cheap price, and sales benefit the museum. I'd like to introduce the advisory board and our members of our committee. Joe DeLuca, Kevin Dana, Richie Cates, Bob Porch, Cindy Wilkes, Carol Rogazinski, Bill Hoover, and especially Dave Hitchner, who helped put this event together today. And a special thank you to Tony Surace, Jim McCormick, and Bob Porch for all their help in putting this together today. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, outside it's pretty miserable, but inside it should be a highlight of the day, the month, and the year. It's really so nice to be able to acknowledge the 75 football team and put together with inductions of some very quality men. It's not like the Bridgeton Millville football game back in the 70s with all the camaraderie we had. It was kind of an exciting time. Little by little, I know that that's changed, and Millville doesn't even play Cumberland anymore, I don't think. But it's so great to have a variety of folks here that some have not seen each other for 50 years, and that's great. We do have some special guests with us this morning. First, I'd like to introduce our Millville Mayor, Lisa Orndorff. Lisa, please stand. Thank you. And Millville Commissioner Ben Romanek. Ben? We have Miss New Jersey 2021, Alyssa Sullivan. Former New Jersey Assemblyman Bruce Land. Bruce? Former Director of the Cumberland County Commissioners, Joe Durella. Former Commissioner and Millville Commissioner, Jim Quinn. Current Millville Superintendent of Schools, Tony Trongone. And Dave Lagamba, Millville High School current athletic director. Dave? Up front, we do have those two photos, team photos, and like Dom said, if you're here as a member of the team, or if you're here representing someone on the team, please make sure you sign those photos because they're going to be framed. One will go to the Thunderbolt Club, and one will go to the All Sports Museum of Southern New Jersey. At this time, when we are thinking of the turmoil over in Ukraine and all that's going on in our world, as well as those members who can't be here today for various reasons or are deceased, could we pause for a moment of silence? Changes on the agenda today. Vanessa DeJean was supposed to be with us, but she had a death in the family and is unable to be here. But very fortunately, we have with us our Miss New Jersey 2021, Alyssa Sullivan, who will sing the Star Spangled Banner. Would you please stand?
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Alyssa. You may be seated. I think we have some folks out there in the hallway. Please come in. I think it's Bubba Green's wife Nancy and son Anthony. At this time, I'd like to ask Jim Quinn to come forward, and he will introduce the former players and coaches of the undefeated 1975 Millville High School, New Jersey Group 4 Thunderbolt football team champions. And when he comes up and introduces them, there'll be a slight pause. And over here, we'll have the mayor of Millville. No, we won't. We'll do that second. We're going to have remarks by Jim McCormick, Ron Lamb, Rich Andrews, and Coach Tony Cerace. Then we'll move on to that later on. Jim?
Okay, Dave, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'll tell you, I was thinking about, it's been so long ago, I was like 29 years old when you guys won the state championship, but it was my 6th year of doing Millville High School football on the radio. I didn't move over to TV till 78, so I really remember it. It was a great game. What a wonderful time. It's so good to see all of you here this morning. Let's start with the players, and great players are here as well. Let me start off with, this is done alphabetically. We're going with the seniors first. First of all, I'd like to call captain, quarterback, Rich Andrews up. Rich, come on up. Just as a matter of fact, Rich's dad, Dick, is one of the best house builders in the city of Millville. He's 85 and he's still working. So I just want to let you know, no retirement in the Andrews family. Rich, okay. Anyway, number 85, offensive and defensive tackle for the 1975 team, Ray Apel. Okay. Moving on, number 26, running back and defensive back, Calvin Bowser. Number 31 is a running back, a defensive back, and a heck of a running back he was, Ralph Esquilin. Son is here to accept it posthumously for him. Your dad was one heck of a ball player.
Thank you much.
You're welcome.
So was he.
Yes, that's right, I forgot. So was he, as Coach Ray said. It runs in the family, good genes, that's for sure. And it's so wonderful that we have the Green family just came in. And at this time, I'd like to call on Bubba's wife, Bubba Green, who was a captain professional football player, number 77, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, and one wonderful man who unfortunately left us way too soon.
Son Anthony's.
Son Anthony is here. This guy was my favorite fire chief. I didn't know he was great. Yeah, I do remember he was a good football player. Offensive guard, middle guard, Kurt Hess, number 73. I guess he's out fighting fires. Making it work today, Mayor? No, he's the former chief.
Few days.
Number 73, a great offensive tackle, defensive tackle, and he's a really good place kicker, Rick Coons. Okay? Anyway, moving on, I know this guy's here because I see him everywhere I go. Number 21, Captain Ron Lamb, wide receiver, defensive tackle. Another outstanding football player, running back, defensive back, number 44, Vandell Lee. That's your uncle. See, he's got it covered. Thank you very much. Thank God you're here. Well, this gentleman I saw on the way in, and is one of my favorite people. Number 19, wide receiver and safety, Rick Marshall. Well, this guy I'm going to introduce when he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame soon. I know everything about him. I'll tell you what I really like about this next player is his family. Paula, Bill, and John are his brother and sister, of course, respectively. Wonderful people. This guy is Mr. Football for Millville. Number 33, Captain Jim McCormick, tight end, linebacker, and punter. I think he did the water as well. He does it all. Still looks like he could go out and play right now. In fact, the Eagles might need him to. And number 50, Dan Powell, who was the center and defensive end. And last but not least, the seniors. The last senior is Cliff Renyo, number 65, offensive guard and middle guard. Okay, let's move to the juniors. I know this guy is here because his family is here as well. Number 62, offensive guard and linebacker, Craig Andrews. Number 29, running back, defensive back, Terry Corsi. Number 83, center and defensive end, John Diorio. Number 46, running back, defensive back, Rick Freeman. I know this next guy's here because I haven't seen him since he was 18, I think, but he looks good. Number 80, tight end, linebacker, Mike Harris. Still got that great smile. Number 88, wide receiver, defensive back, Andy Janetta. Andy? Okay, number 61, offensive guard, linebacker, Ned Johnson. Number 63, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, Kevin Kiley. Number 67, offensive guard, defensive end, Terry McDonough. This guy knows here. Number 66, offensive guard, middle guard, Tom McGinty. Well, we've had two people from this team, and as before I should have mentioned it, Bubba Green and this next gentleman were the two that made it to professional football. Number 32, running back, defensive back, one of the best running backs Millville High School ever had, Calvin Murray. I believe Calvin is in Ohio.
Jerry's
here. Okay, Jerry, thank you for coming and accepting. And if I remember right, Jerry, these guys came out of Woodbine, right?
Yes.
Calvin and Bubba. Both came out of Woodbine. Thank God for Woodbine. The bad news is Woodbine doesn't go to Noble High anymore. But we're still really good, so that's a good thing.
And they were drafted the same year.
Oh, that's right, they were drafted the exact same year, Jerry. Thank you. Next, I want to introduce number 40, wide receiver, defensive back, Kevin Payton. Number 38, running back, defensive back, Kevin Price. Number 53, center and middle guard, Jim Reese. This next guy I know I've seen because his nephew's here. You know who this is, Ben, right? Number 15, wide receiver and safety, Ed Romanek. Of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Ed's dad was a Chicago Bear quarterback out of Millville. Steve Romanek, who was a former Millville City Commissioner, who we lost several years ago, a wonderful man. Number 43, running back, defensive back, Al Vanneman. Number 76, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, Bud Williams. Okay, that completes our juniors. Now we're going to the sophomores. Number 60, offensive guard, linebacker, Doug Bailey. Number 51, center and linebacker, Doug Canone. I got to tell you, Doug, your dad, Cleet, was one of my favorite teachers. Cleet was a football coach when I was in high school. Next is number 86, running back, a defensive back, George Chadwick. Number 56, offensive guard and linebacker, Stan Coleman. And number 78, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, and accepting on his behalf posthumously is Greek Evrenoglu for his brother Manny Evrenoglu. Next is number 82, tight end, defensive end, Joe Falver. Number 30, wide receiver and safety, Tom Feen. I have to mention that Tom Feen's brother, Hank Feen, was doing color commentary for me in the 1975 game that we broadcast on WMVB. Number 72, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, Ralph Fowler. Number 87, wide receiver, defensive end, Dan Gale. Number 89, wide receiver and halfback, Manny Gonzalez. Number 71, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, Ray Horsey. Number 57, center and defensive end, Kevin Cavanaugh. Number 20, running back, defensive back, Ken Marshall. Number 55, tight end, defensive end, Rudy Matheson. Well, this next gentleman I know is here because his father and I go way back to Aaron Cable TV days. Number 74, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, Luther McDonald. And I might add, Luther served our city as a wonderful police officer for 25 plus years.
That's right.
Number 11, quarterback and safety, Glenn Murray. Thank God for the Murrays. This is his brother? Jeff? Hi, Jeff. How are you? Good, thank you too. So accepting is Jeff Murray on behalf of Glenn. Number 22, running back, defensive back, Scott Oliver. Number 18, quarterback and safety, John Powell. Number 75, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, Chris Price. Number 12, quarterback, defensive end, Brett Quinn. Number 24, running back, defensive back, Jim Robinson. Number 25, wide receiver, defensive back, Gene Schroeder. Number 35, running back, defensive back, Ray Teagle. Number 41, wide receiver, defensive back, Lamont Toney. Number 70, offensive guard, linebacker, Dan Wilson. And now we move to the coaches. At this time, I'd like to introduce the running back and linebacker coach, Ed Andrews. And the wide receiver, defensive back, who was a wonderful friend of all of us and actually was one of my teachers in high school, who's passed away, Bob Hogan. The line coach, this guy never ages, Rich Keppel. There he is. The quarterback coach, Paul McCluskey. The kickers and the sophomore coach, Ron Shea. And probably the most popular man in the city of Millville in 1975 anyway, was the head coach, Tony Cerace. He's here, he's on the list, thank you. Okay, now we go to the freshman coaches. The head freshman coach was Al Caldwell. Another one of the freshman coaches, Steve Warren. Oh, Nancy Caldwell is here. Nancy, good to see you. Will you come up, please? Thank you. And also a freshman coach, one of my son's favorite teachers, Bill Shaughnessy. And the next freshman coach, I have a special place in my heart for him. He and I went to college together and is one of the nicest gentlemen that you would have ever known. And unfortunately, he did pass away. But here to accept his award, it should be his son, Dan Wright. Dan? There's Dan. And the managers for the 1975 Millville High School Championship team were Clarence Hoffman and Mike Haneke and Bob Vi. And last but certainly not least, a good friend of mine and a wonderful gentleman, the student trainer, Bob Hoffman. Ladies and gentlemen, the players and coaches of the state championship 1975 Millville High School football team. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jim. We're going to present some certificates to these gentlemen and ladies. And after we do that, if all the players and representatives would go over to this side of the room where Scott's going to take some group photos. And if any of you want to take group photos, we can do that too. Okay, at this time, I think we'd like to have some remarks by Jim McCormick, Ron Lamb, Rich Andrews, and Tony Cerace. Would you four guys come up here, please? If you fellas don't, and ladies don't mind having a seat. We'll call you back up for certificates a little bit later. This guy has lots of words of wisdom to share.
Thanks for everybody coming out today to support us. It's crazy, 47 years ago. I mean, we haven't seen each other for 47 years. And all it took was a free lunch to get these guys out. It's pretty funny. But I just want to say that I love my teammates. I'm proud of them. I'm proud that we were receiving this award. We were a team that was more like a family than anything else. We each had a role. We played the role, and we played it well, no matter if you were on the scout team or if you were a starter. It was just a situation where we had each other's backs, and we're proud of it. And I'm just glad to be a part, and congratulations and welcome.
I wrote my thoughts down. As we're getting older, you have to do that. So, I'm going to stay on point here. First, I want to thank God for allowing me and us to be able to play the game that I and we once loved. I say once loved at this age, because at this age, we may have some regrets. But at that time, we loved football with reckless abandon. Remember that word, reckless abandon? And had the mind and body to do what the game called for. Practices, games, team cohesive building events, like training meals before games, Friday night meals at local team members' homes for the out-of-town players, even a trip to a college game, or going to see teammates play other sports in the off-season, whether it was track, baseball, basketball, wrestling. I don't regret any of that. Number two, I want to thank our coaches from 9 through 12. I could say something about each of them, but for the sake of time, I'll only say thank you for letting me and us be a part of the best football team Millville has ever had in over 100 years of football. That's a strong, tall statement, especially when we look at the state championship teams Millville has had. In order to be in the GOAT discussion, though, you need to be undefeated. And if I'm not mistaken, that would only leave two of us, the 1975 team and the 57-58 team. And I think we would have beat them. Next, I want to thank the All Sports Museum of Southern New Jersey for allowing us to be recognized, our state championship team to be recognized. I want to thank the sponsors. And finally, I want to thank Jim McCormick, J. Mack. We wouldn't be recognized as a team if it weren't for you. You were a leader then, you're still a leader now, doing all that you do to keep us together and in the forefront of Millville sports. Not only in Millville, but in South Jersey and even the state. I know I'm probably forgetting to thank someone. If so, charge it to my head and not my heart. Thank you.
I wanted to begin by thanking the South Jersey Sports Hall of Fame for recognizing the 1975 Millville Thunderbolt undefeated state championship football team. I would also like to say congratulations to all the individuals who are being inducted today. Each one of you deserves this high honor. As far as the 1975 team, when I sat down and I tried to organize my thoughts, so many things started to pop into my head. First, I could see our team battling a tenacious Brick Township team on a crisp December Saturday afternoon at Wheaton Field. That Brick team, led by legendary coach Warren Wolf, had only lost one game in the previous 5 years. They were confident, well-drilled, and tough. But on that day, or any day, any other day, they were no match for the mighty 75 Thunderbolts. My again flashes back, and I can see myself and many other young boys playing Major League Football behind City Hall, in the mud, in the funk of old Giola Field. If you remember, Giola Field had poor drainage, and half the practices and half the games were held in thick, muddy conditions. That early training, I believe, helped us to win 2 of our games in 1975. One was at Collingswood, where our offense put together a 95-yard drive in a monsoon to record a 15-8 come-from-behind victory in the 4th quarter. The other was on Thanksgiving Day at Wheaton Field. The weather was terrible, just like it is out there today. When I wrote this, I wasn't thinking it was going to be like that today, but a torrential downpour, and we played in ankle-deep mud. The stands were packed, and Vineland scored first. The Vineland fans were pumped up, going crazy. They could smell victory. And all of a sudden, a little return man wearing number 21 took a punt and returned it for a touchdown. Ronnie Lamb's spark ignited us, and we cruised to the rest of the way to a 22-7 victory. I can see the Thunderbolt home run defense crushing a Bridgeton running back in the backfield and causing a fumble. Bubba Green, all 6'5" of him, scooped it up and ran 65 yards for a touchdown. That helped us beat a previously undefeated Bridgeton Bulldog team, 31-6. We were on a roll. We were now 8-0. I can see Cal Murray and Ralph Esquelin making incredible runs. I need that light. Incredible runs to help us win against Mainland and Deptford. But none of us could have done what we did without the guys in the trenches. You, without much glory or fanfare, were the ones who opened up the holes for Calvin, Ralph, and Vandal Lee. You were the ones who stuffed the opposing offense each week that helped us to achieve an 11-0 victory. So from the so-called skilled positions, I just wanted to thank you and say to all the linemen, a job well done. You were the backbone of our team. Last week, I had an opportunity to go to Duke University and be a part of the celebration that went on at Cameron Arena, celebrating Coach K's 42-year coaching career at Duke. I spent about 3 hours in the arena watching the taping of the college game day Saturday morning. Many announcers, players, and opposing coaches all gave their views about Coach K and his Duke legacy. In an interview, Coach K tried to take all the hoopla about him and put it into perspective, and he simply said, "We did that." I heard that, and it hit me. What he was saying was many different people had a hand in his success at Duke. It wasn't just him. It was the players, the assistant coaches, the alumni, the fans, and many, many hands had a part in his Duke legacy. That got me thinking. I started thinking about Coach Cerise and his coaching staff. Without them, our team wouldn't have achieved any of the success that we had. I've said it many times before, but I've never said it to this larger group. I went on to play at Lehigh University along with Jim McCormick. We had great success there playing under Coach John Whitehead. Coach Whitehead was an outstanding football coach. During our 4-year career at Lehigh, we won a national championship in 1977 and placed second in the nation in 1979. During those 2 years, Coach Whitehead was chosen the NCAA Coach of the Year. I believe Coach Cerise and his staff were every bit as good as the coaching staff that I played for at Lehigh University. The Millville staff gave us everything we needed to beat our opponents each week. Monday was film and scouting reports. Tuesday through Thursday, we beat each other up on the practice field. Friday, we had a dress rehearsal at Wheaton Field. Saturday was 7:30 a.m. pregame meal, meetings, and a slow build to game time. At 1 o'clock, all the emotions exploded. And looking back, I think the best thing Coach Race and his staff did for our team was to give us all the information, prepare us well during the week, and then on Saturday just stay out of the way. Right, Coach? Just let the players do what they need to do to win the game. Thank you, coaches, for being smart enough to recognize that. In closing, I just wanted to leave with a couple thoughts. The first was from an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer sports pages. It was about the top 10 high school football teams in the tri-state area in the 1900s. It was either from 1999 or 2000. I can't remember exactly when. But I was quite surprised when I looked at the list of top 10 teams to see 2 out of the top 10 were from Millville. One was the 1917 undefeated, unscored upon Orange and Blue team. And the other was our 1975 team. I did some rough numbers, and I'd say, let's just say there's 100 football teams in the tri-state area. Yeah, I'm sure there's more than that, but we'll use 100 football teams. And let's say we multiply that 100 by another 100 for the number of years in a century. That brings us to 10,000 football teams. Wow. We had 2 out of the top 10 of the 10,000 football teams in the 1900s. The Millville program was well represented with 2 of the top teams in the 1900s. That doesn't even take into account the great teams that we had in the 1950s, the 1960s, the 31-game winning streak, etc. Millville's football legacy is quite impressive. There is so much for all of us to be proud of. I would like to thank everyone who took the time to honor the 1975 team. I think the best way for me to end would be to use Coach K's words and apply it to the 1975 football team. Everyone who had a part in that achievement, that includes fans, alumni, family, I would just like to say, to end by saying, we did that. So, thank you.
When you have players like Bubba and Jim, Ronnie, and what you just heard from Rich, you do get out of the way. Just let them play. But I did want to mention a couple things before I say something about the 75 team in particular. When I retired from coaching, the Thunderbolt Club had a banquet in my honor, and at that time they presented me with this carving up here done by a professional carver, Millville alumni, baseball player for me back in the 70s, Teddy Dupnock, and I was presented it that night, and a lot of people that were in attendance saw it. And then I went to my house, and if you use the restroom in my house, you walk by it, but otherwise you never saw it. And what's important about that is that the 4 inductees today that will be inducted, Bubba, Jim, my 2 sons, Brian and Bob, are both on that along with Calvin Murray. And my wife said, just don't break it. But I brought it here so that everybody could take a look at that. And I think it's a tremendous depiction of that. You know, about 3 years or so ago, Dave Hishner reached out and he wanted me to put him in touch with Bubba Green to induct Bubba into the Hall of Fame. And I did that, and unfortunately, as fate would have it, Bubba got sick, was not able to attend to meet with Dave or to have an induction. And then we have a pandemic, and there was a big lull in the in moving forward. And then Dave reached out again and said he'd like to make this like a Millville night and induct Jim and Bubba posthumously and my 2 sons and honor the 75 team. And again, as many people mentioned, this is the All Sports Museum of Southern New Jersey, formerly the Bridgeton Hall of Fame. I thank you very, very much, all of you, to take the time to come to the rival school and in this weather. But we thank you very, very much for, on behalf of everyone, for that opportunity. It was also mentioned about the sponsors, and when we first met with Dave and the committee, we talked about, well, we need some sponsors. First one to step up was Coach Ed Salmon. I know everybody in here knows Ed. Ed is in, not in the weather we are, he's in the Virgin Islands, but he sends his best, and we thank him for his sponsorship. And then he got his company, Salmon Ventures, President Kim Shalik Downs, to also sponsor. And then we have the Thunderbolt Club, and thank you, President Craig Atkinson, for your sponsorship, or we wouldn't be able to have this. I want to recognize one person very quickly who made the trip up here, was the principal at Millville High School with that 75 team, and that's Bill Puzak. Bill. I think some of the players may have seen Bill in a little different light, they got in trouble or whatever, especially when we were getting on the floats to take the parade after the game. I've been truly blessed being able to come out of college, and my lifelong dream was to coach football, and I got a job in Millville as a teacher and a coach, and blessed, first of all, with some outstanding coaches that surrounded me. When I got the head football job at a very young age, I was the youngest guy on the staff and was surrounded by experienced coaches that, as Rich mentioned, really knew the game of football, dedicated to the game of football, and very fortunate, and I thank all of them. They were cited here today, and of course, we miss those that couldn't be here because of health reasons, or in case of Coach Hogan, posthumously, and we miss him. I also was blessed with outstanding players. Right from the get-go in 1972, we had a championship team, and we were building towards something. And the first year of the playoffs, 1974, a lot of these guys played on that team, and we stubbed our toe twice. And this team of 75 was determined not to let that happen. And we almost let it happen in the first game of the year. And I know they'll remember this, playing the powerful Bishop Newman team from Philadelphia. And they scored near the end of the game to bring the score to 14-12, our favor. They went for two to tie it. The pass was right in the receiver's hands for the two-point conversion. He dropped it. Sometimes you better be lucky than good. And we were very fortunate where that would have been, a tie on our record. And then Ron, we wouldn't have that unblemished season. But you have to have a little bit of luck. But you also have a lot of talent. And the people being inducted today, Jim and Bubba, led that. But as Rich said, we were a team. And one of the great quotes that I always had in our locker room was, "It's amazing what can be accomplished when nobody cares who gets the credit." So no one on that team was jealous of all the awards. Some of you showed me some pictures of Bubba when he was in front of Leonard Toews' helicopter, taking a picture as the Defensive Player of the Year in the tri-state area. And, so Bubba got a lot of accolades, and rightfully so. And Jim and Rich and others, Calvin, but no one cared. Ron Lamb didn't care. He just went out there and made tackles. And neither did all the unsung heroes that Rich talked about in the offensive and defensive lines. And when you have that type of feeling on a team, you're going to have a lot of success. And that is really special. And I remember, some of you folks might remember, the great coach of the Philadelphia Flyers, Freddie Shero, in the Stanley Cup playoffs said, "Win today and we'll walk forever. We'll walk together forever." And I wasn't smart enough to think of that back then. But what has happened to this team is a tremendous bond. And the bond that just keeps on giving, staying together. And it's shown by your attendance here today. Some people traveling hundreds and hundreds of miles, others that couldn't make it, wanted to be here, unfortunately couldn't make it. But to have a bond, you have to have glue. And it was mentioned by Ron, that glue is Jim McCormick. And Jim has kept this team together, reunion after reunion, 15 years, 20 years. And I know he does the same thing with his Lehigh brethren. Jim is a very special leader in that way. And Jim, I thank you very much for your, all you've done to keep that 75 team together. Lastly, and most importantly, as coaches, we are most proud of all of you, all the players, because you're not only great athletes and we're great performers and won them all. You also are great people. And when you see the kind of people you are, the successes that you've become, you know, we didn't only teach X's and O's and scouting reports, we tried to teach you a little bit about life. And you guys have all been very, very successful in your lives. And as coaches, we're very proud of that, and we thank you. And years later, that's when we get our, you know, really good feelings of seeing how well you've done in life. And so thank you very, very much, all of you, for attending, and thanks again to the All Sports Museum.
Thank you, fellas.
We're going to wait till afterwards.
Fellas, you may be seated. Jim McCormick did an outstanding job by contacting a lot of people in this room, and even those that couldn't make it. So thank you very much, Jim, for doing that. I don't know how he got the nickname The Duke, but maybe some of you guys know that story. I'd love to hear it. He sort of shies away from telling me, but, or the legend. But I think he invited everybody here, one way or another, but I wasn't surprised to see Biden or Trump come in the door back there if he was going to invite everybody. But, I don't know. That didn't get much of a laugh either. But I was excited when we reached out to our mayor of Millville, not only because of how she became mayor, but she's the first female mayor of Millville, and I think that's quite an accomplishment. Lisa Ornsdorf is a graduate of Millville High School. She first became a resident of Millville as a child in the early 1990s. After high school, she moved to Pennsylvania, where she lived for several years, and then returned to Millville to be near her family and raise her children here. Lisa is a single mom and has two amazing children, Bridget and Brennan. Bridget's a nice name because I have a granddaughter, Bridget. Bridget is a heart warrior and has had 3 open heart surgeries, and she loves acting and baking with her mom. Brennan loves soccer and fishing. They are Lisa's biggest fans. She's employed with Power Home Remodeling, where she's been a successful representative in both inside sales and customer care. She also has had a successful career as a stylist. She's a fierce advocate for children with congenital heart disease and disorders. She has volunteered with and raised funds for Children's Heart Foundation, Mended Little Hearts, the American Heart Association, and Make-A-Wish. She wanted to get more involved with her city, so she decided to run for office this past year. Her campaign was the slogan, "Standing Up for Millville." She was motivated to help make a positive change within her town. Lisa was elected as commissioner in November, and then elected among her fellow commissioners as the first female mayor in Millville's 155-year charter. She looks forward to learning over the next 4 years and hopes to help make a difference and positive change within Millville. Please welcome the mayor of Millville, Lisa Orndorff.
Still good morning, correct? Good morning, everybody. Thank you for asking me to be here today. It's truly an honor. I, like Mr. Hitcher said, I grew up in Millville, and side note, I have notes, but I love to see so many faces here that I have seen growing up, and you've really truly impacted our city, so it's so nice to see everybody here today. But growing up in Millville, I was always involved in the extracurricular activities around town. I cheered, I danced, and I played softball. And many of your faces were at those fields and involved, and that's really, really great to see you here today and still involved in our town. As I joined in high school, I joined our color guard, and I was for 4 years, and I was a drum major my junior and senior year. So I got the privilege of going to every single football game for my 4 years of high school, which was really awesome. being a cheerleader, you know, it's a little bit different being on the stands and actually getting to watch the game and cheer on the players. You get a better view, which I enjoyed. Some things that I really, really loved, I just loved being able to go to the Spirit Day Parade before the big Thanksgiving Day games. We don't have those anymore as much, but they were so much fun. I remember driving down High Street and all the street was covered with orange and blue Spirit, and then you've got the fake chickens dragging behind the cars. I've always enjoyed going to the games. Even after I graduated and moved away, I would come home and visit my family and still attend the Thanksgiving Day games. It was so great to see so many people in our community come back and be a part of that game. This year was a huge year for Millville Vineland game, 150 years. That was an amazing day, beautiful weather. I was standing on the field. I was asked as being an alumni to the marching band. I stood in the field in the 150 that they had made on the field, and as the Star Spangled Banner was being played, I just started crying. You know, it was an emotional moment for me, realizing I was a newly elected official in this city, this amazing town. And I was gonna be the first female mayor. Like, that was just a moment I will always, always remember and always cherish. And I can't thank everybody here enough for giving me that moment, because you've allowed that moment to continue for that long. And it's going to continue because we love our city and our town. Millville takes pride in all of their sports teams. Recently, the city hosted the Parade of Champions. I do believe it's important to celebrate our youth. They work so hard at their craft, and more importantly, they work hard at their academics. Our students need motivation and support from their family and friends and their community. This creates success. Motivation creates success. Everyone measures success differently, but that motivation helps. We had a number of great athletes come from the city of Millville. Among the few greats we've had, I know the late Bubba Green of the Baltimore Colts, late Steve Romanek, Chicago Bears, Calvin Murray from Philadelphia Eagles, Dwayne Hendricks, which was in my class, 2004, he New York Giants. I love to say that because that's really cool. I went to high school with him. And I have to say, we also have Mike Trout from the Los Angeles Angels. Today, I would like to congratulate the members of the undefeated 1975 Millville High School, South Jersey, Group 4 Millville Thunderbolt team. And a special congratulations to Bubba, Brian Surace, Bob Surace, and Jim McCormick for their induction to the All Sports South Jersey Museum of South Jersey. It's a big accomplishment. Congratulations. But lastly, I just want to say thank you to all of the volunteers that we have in our town. We have teachers, mentors, and everybody that helps out. You have made this possible. I truly appreciate all that have and continue to can't talk this morning. I truly appreciate all that have and continue to volunteer in our community. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your support.
Thank you. Our Miss New Jersey is here, and we're really happy to have her. Just to let you know, I first met Alyssa 7 years ago in August of 2015 when she was an incoming freshman at Ryder. And she sang at the Bridgeton Invitational Tournament at that time. And it was just interesting to see how she has grown since that time. But now, because she really wanted to be involved in musical theater, I think at that time, and now she is involved with PHL 17. So So maybe sometime, if you turn to channel 17 with the news, you may see her, but I don't know if it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. A little early. But we're really glad to have her with us, and she is going to share with us an outstanding song that she would like to sing to you. It's printed in your program. So, Alyssa, would you please come up? I think we're going to sync that.
That's life. That's what people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change their tune when I'm back on top in June. That's life. It's funny as it may seem, some people get their kicks stepping on our dreams, but I just can't let them get me down, oh no, 'cause this big old world keeps spinning around. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, all the drama we've seen. Each time I find myself flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life, and I can't deny it. I thought of quitting, but my heart just wouldn't buy it. And if I thought it wasn't worth a try, I'd just hop up on that big bird and then I'd fly. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, all the drama we see. Each time I find myself flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life, and I can't deny it. I thought of quitting, but my heart just wouldn't buy it. And if it still is shaking come this July, I just hop up on that big bird and then I'd fly. That's life. That's life. That's life.
Thank you, Alyssa. Beautiful voice, beautiful talent, and great background music back here on the racetrack. Thank you. Lisa, did you take my program with you? No? May I have a program now? Just okay, at this time, Barbara Serace, would you please come forward? Lisa Serace, would you please come forward? And Nancy Green, would you please come forward? Bob? John? Cindy?
On behalf of the All Sports Museum of Southern New Jersey, I would like to present this bouquet of flowers to Mrs. Suri.
Barbara.
Behind all the good men, there's always a good woman. And we thank you for being here today and honoring us with your presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I think due to time, we're going to present those certificates. We have a certificate from Millville, we have a certificate from the All Sports Museum, and we have a team photo from the museum to present, but that'll take a lot of time to come up here, so how about we just go right to the inductions, and then we'll end with the certificates. So at this time, would Jim Quinn come forward please, to introduce our inductee, Jim McCormick. Jim?
Thank you, Dave. I guess, Lisa, we were lucky that Jim McCormick didn't run for city commission, right? Because as you can see, he's a very, very popular person. And he's an amazing athlete. Really was a fabulous athlete. Looks like he still could play. Jim was a 3-year starter, obviously, at Millville High School. He was halfback, fullback, tight end, linebacker, and punter, and he played all at the same time, at the same 4 positions at once. But he was all conference 2 years as linebacker and punter. He was all group 4 for 2 years, all South Jersey and all tri-state. He was named by the Philadelphia Inquirer as one of the best players in the entire Delaware Valley. He was co-captain of the 1975 team. I guess I'll use my Joe Dorella voice, the coach's voice, right? Because we've lost some audio. Anyway, he was co-captain of the 75 team along with people that we mentioned earlier. And of course, as we know, that team won the state championship. Okay, with my phys ed voice here, let's go. Hey, Jim, I didn't realize Jim also, he was a 3-sport player. He played football, as we all know, and I knew he was a really good baseball player, but I didn't know he was also a basketball player. And Jim was won the Thunderbolt Award, thank you, for the 75 team, and he's also got the award for basketball. He was a 3-year varsity letter winner for baseball. He was the captain in 1976, and he was all county honors for 3 years, all South Jersey honors for 2 years, and Jim was awarded as one of the top 100 athletes in the state of New Jersey in 1976. Jim went on and graduated from Millville High and attended Lehigh University. And in 1980, Jim was a 4-year starter in football. He was a linebacker. He was a member of the 1978 Lehigh University Division II National Champions. Well, you get those championship awards, Jim, I'm telling you. He was named the NBC Player of the semifinal game. He was a tri-captain of the 1979 team, 2-time All-American in 1978 and 79, 2-time All-ECAC and linebacker. Jim played Lehigh baseball as a starter in 77 and 78. Jim was named Lehigh Athlete of the Year, Millville Hall of Fame College Player of the Year in 77 and 78, and Lehigh Hall of Fame in 2005. After graduation, Jim returned home to Millville, where he coached for 9 years in the Millville National Little League and 3 years in the Midget Football League program. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a nice round of applause for this year's inductee in the All Sports Hall of Fame, Jim McCormick.
Okay, Jim, on behalf of the All Sports Museum, congratulations.
Thank you. This time I do need this. Just want to thank Jim Quinn for the great introduction and for your many contributions throughout the years to the City of Millville and to the Millville sports organizations. Great job. Especially want to send thanks to Dave Hitchner, Dom Lavella, and Bob Porch for their hard work on the event, and as well as the South Jersey Hall of Fame. Thank you for the award. Appreciate it. You guys have a great organization. I want to thank Coach Ed and Marilyn Salmon, the Salmon Ventures Group, and the T-Bolt Group for their generous sponsorship. Without their sponsorship, a lot of this wouldn't have happened today, so thank you very much for that. Congrats to my teammate and buddy, number 77. Bubba, who's high-fiving right now from heaven. Bob and Brian Serace, as well as my brothers from the 75 state championship on their selections. Also, a quick shout out to Coach Thomas and the 2021 state champions. Good job, and as always, it's a great day to be a Bowl. None of this, however, would be possible if it weren't for God, like Ronnie told us earlier. He's truly blessed my life with gifts of love and friendship. He shed light early in my journey that no one man wins a game, no one man wins championships, and no one man wins awards. So with that said, I'd like to thank the following people. Starting with my parents, great parents, Pauline and Robert McCormick, her smiling down with a twinkle and tears in her eyes. They taught me how to play to win, to strive to be the best, and to get up whenever life knocks you down. My sister Paula, who couldn't be here today as she recovers from hip surgery, she actually saved my life. She carried me to the house one day after a handlebar had gone through my head while I was waiting for a Dairy Dan ice cream on the curb. And her husband, Warren McLaughlin, who pushed me through weight training and running exercises during the teen years. My uncle Leon Horn, who couldn't be here. I guess this isn't working. You have to hold it up here by your mouth. I did. I'll give it. My uncle Leon Horn, he was a track and football star at Millville. He played for the Bolts 31-game streak. He was the MVP at Villanova before signing with the New York Titans. And he was my personal punting coach. He taught me the art of hitting 70-yard spirals through hours and hours of training and broken windows in our backyard. My cousins, Steve and Bill Horn, who allowed me to play and get better, and beaten up by all their older friends on both sides of town, which taught me to never fear bigger opponents as I got older. My neighborhood gang of Grennans, Romanicks, Nuskies, Rocaps, Suey, Hussey, that played sports from sunup to sundown in all seasons. My youth league coaches, Jim Pissarro, Steve Romanick, Walt Pastician, Carmen Jones, and Marty Cavanaugh. Hall of Fame coaches from college and high school, John Whitehead, Sam Sanders, John Lockhart, Walt Whitehead, Tony Serace, Ed Andrews, Bob Hogan, Paul McCluskey, Rich Keppel, Al Caldwell, Bill Shaughnessy, Bill Hiltner, and Ron Shea, who, along with Doc Jones, somehow kept me playing with ice whirlpools, ultrasound, and 20 rolls of tape each day. All my teammates from football, basketball, and baseball who became my brothers in youth leagues, high school, and college. Special fans, cheerleaders, bands, pep groups, parents from Lehigh and Millville. And then there's this special group, which I'm going to call your name. I want you to stand up, please. These are my lifetime MVPs. Craig Andrews. Rich Andrews. Mike Get Up. Bill Horn. Bill Cavanaugh. Marty Cavanaugh. Rick Marshall. Bill McCormick. And Mike Shannon. That's a special bunch of guys right there you could always count on. Thank you. Finally, I have two special All-Stars left that I want to introduce. First is my big brother, Bill. This dude was, and I guess he still is, cool. He taught me all the basics of how to throw, hit, block, tackle, shoot hoops, and play with passion from my early days in my crib. Later on, he brought home teammates like Pansy, Butch, Hank, Don, and Phil. He talked with me about what it took to be good and win championships like they did. After high school, he let me lug his heavy leather helmet, I'm not saying how old you are, but off the field, and told me these three important life lessons that every 4-year-old should listen to and understand and never forget. 1, love your teammates and your family. 2, never underestimate opponents. 3, always, and I mean always, hate violence. I know you have for Scott Brixton too. Last but not least is my little brother John. He couldn't be here today. He's recovering from back surgery. That boy has been the best friend anyone could ever want. We grew up building tree houses, riding mini bikes, watching Dr. Shock movies, and Mexican bullfights. We played all sports all year long. We pushed each other to be the best by practicing how to win games, not just playing, but win them, with last-minute shots in basketball, touchdowns in football, and home runs in baseball. But most important, we stood by each other in all times of good and bad that life dealt us, including the loss of our parents and my wife, Jean. For all these reasons, I accept this award today for us, John Boy, as well as all of you out there who play a special role in my life. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. We did receive some special tributes from some of your teammates from Lehigh. So I've asked Brother Bill if he would come up and share that information with us. Bill?
Is this working? Nope. Not working.
Okay. Testing. 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 Shout.
Not gonna work. Okay. I'm gonna do an excerpt of this because it's fairly lengthy, but one of Jimmy's teammates was nice enough to put this together from Lehigh. Jimmy McCormick was a key man in the transformation of Lehigh football becoming a dominant defensive team. He was an All-American on a team that played for national championships in 1977 and 1979. In each year, Jimmy led a top 5 defensive unit in sacks and tackles for loss. It was the golden era of Lehigh football history, and Jim was the leader of those great squads. We'll go right to this. As a member of the defensive line, I could see firsthand how amazing Jim was. While Rich directed the offense, Jim was the quarterback of the defense. He acknowledged his knowledge of offensive formations enabled him to put defensive teammates in positions to succeed. Calling defensive run blitzes, changing schemes at the line of scrimmage, or calling out pass patterns, Jim had the football IQ of a seasoned coach. In 1979, Lehigh had a stacked team with 6 All-East players and 2 All-Americans. There were many leaders on the team. However, Jim stood above them all with his leadership on and off the field. Over the past 40 years, Jim and I have grown closer. We got to know his lovely wife, Gina, and was saddened by her passing. Gina was as beautiful inside as she was outside. Gina made Jim a better man. The strength Jim displays in his post-football life by far exceeds his strength as an All-American football player. Jim provides leadership with several alumni groups at Lehigh and is widely acknowledged as the best defensive player in Lehigh history. His admittance to the Lehigh Athletics Hall of Fame in 2005 will enshrine him forever. We thank the Millville sports community for sharing Jim with Lehigh. On behalf of Lehigh University, and especially his teammates from the 1976 to 1979 seasons, we congratulate Jim for his admittance to the South Jersey Hall of Fame, signed Eric Yastrzemski. Thank you.
Coach Rich Keppel, please come up to introduce Bubba Green. Rich.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I haven't seen this much rain since Collingswood. And when I moved to Millville in 1973, they said a game, of course, a away game, but a game is never canceled. And while I was here, that was really true. So we never woke up that day and say, "Are we going to play or not?" We just said, "Okay, what are we going to change to, to play a good game today?" It's really nice being here. I'm really humbled to be able to introduce someone at the South Jersey Hall of Fame and somebody from Woodbine and Millville High School. Anthony Bubba Green. Now that's the last time I'm going to say Anthony. I just want to say that because I never heard the name Anthony. I don't think I even knew it for the years that I coached him. But I would also just like to start quickly by saying thank you to Ed, Marilyn, and Salmon and Kim from Salmon Ventures, and the Thunderbolt Club, and Bob Porch and the other people who work so hard to make this another excellent experience in South Jersey. See, I'm from Bergen County. We had 1 million people in one county, and I was used to not being recognized there. And I haven't been recognized here either, so it was still it's still a continuation of the same thing, and that's why I'm honored and humbled today. Rich. One thing I'd just like to say about the whole team before I talk about Bubba. If we let you guys alone on Saturday, you would have thrown the ball 35 times. And that wasn't going to happen. But I will say, aside from a great game by everybody else, Rich Andrews called. Oh, I can't hear. Okay. Rich Andrews called about 6 audibles against Brick Township that helped us in critical situations. And he never got enough credit for that, but we ran away from some of their better defensive players. Bubba Green. I had to take some notes because he won so many honors, but what a man. He's a tremendous football player. He was also great in track, and he would tell you he was a better baseball player than any of those sports. You may not have known that, but I heard it. In high school, he was first team all-conference and all-county, both offense and defense. All-South Jersey first team, all-state, Brooks Irvine Memorial Football Club Award, Tri-State Defensive Player of the Year, and listed among the 100 top players in the United States by who's who. In track. And, you know, he didn't have a winter sport because he threw the shot put and they wanted him to go all over to throw the shot at different meets. So, you know, he was in winter track and spring track. In high school, he had the shot put record of 61 feet, 4.5 inches. That stood for 25 years in southern New Jersey. All conference shot put, state champion shot putter, third in the state in javelin and discus. I just want to tell you a quick story about the javelin. He threw 207 feet in the state meet, the first time he ever threw it in competition. So you know how much coaching he got. We showed him on Wednesday and Friday, you know, he got third place in the state. Well, Bill Hoover was his coach, who did a great job also in that regard. Yes, okay, third in the state javelin and discus, and he was the South Jersey Coaches Association Weightman of the Year, which was all of South Jersey, in 1976. That was the spring of the football season, of course. In college football, he played at North Carolina State for 4 years. Amazing to me. That Sporting News, not that he got it, but that Sporting News picked him in 1976 as the freshman defensive lineman of the year in college football. I think they do a little baseball too, don't they? Sporting News? I don't know if it's still around. Honorable mention All-American 1980, and was selected to play in the blue-gray game, which was, you know, before all these bowl games was a much bigger deal and much more of an honor. Professional football. He made the 1980 All-NFL All-Rookie team in 1981 as a member of the Baltimore Colts. And he played a couple more seasons there, one more season before he got hurt, I think. Tremendous honors as a young player. Then he was a college coach at Morgan State for 10 years. I hope he didn't use some of the terminology that he learned from me.
That's for sure.
And then, you know, his dedication and hard work continued after sports. His maturity, we were talking about that, how he changed from the sophomore that I first got to know to be a tremendous man, not only in size. He worked for the Arrow Project, matching foster children and parents, for a short while. And then he retired after 14 years as the mentor coordinator for the Truancy Court in Baltimore, working with at-risk youth. When we went to his retirement party, Tony, Ed, and Ronnie Lamb, Fletcher Jameson went there. It was very obvious the love and admiration of all of his co-workers. And I'm sure if we had some of the young people that he worked with, that would have continued on. Bubba and Nancy. You know, when daughter Deanna passed away, they became youth advocates and advocates for all the people in Baltimore, actually. And they formed the Deanna Camille green rule, or helped get that passed, actually. And that was something that measured the electricity and everything that could conduct electricity in the whole state of Maryland. Traffic lights, fences near, and stands near electric lines and all those things. That was a giant accomplishment by Nancy and Bubba. And they also fought in honor of Deanna's singing. They formed the Deanna's Lyric Foundation, which was a mentorship program and music program for anyone who needed it in the Baltimore area. Tremendous things, tremendous. And Bubba was a great dad. You know, he's been at our house. Our daughters, Colleen and Sharon, you know, Bubba would say, "How are they doing?" And I would always say, "How are Deanna and Anthony doing?" You know, and he was so proud of them, and always talked just like a dad. I'll just say, you know. I don't know if it was exaggerated. I know I exaggerate a lot, so I just figured that, you know, it might have been, but great kids, great kids. So proud of Anthony and Deanna. And I'm just going to end with this. We miss you, Bubba, and we love you, Bubba.
Great.
Thank you.
Nancy, please come up.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Here you go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1 more. Good. Thank you.
Coach Ed Andrews, please come forward.
Nancy was gonna say something.
Nancy wants to say something.
Yeah.
Nancy.
Oh. Oh, like it? Yeah. I use my theatrical voice. I just want you all to know how very much I appreciate the ongoing love and respect for one another. I want you all to know that you are all a part of Bubby's family. Bubby's family has gotten, it's not working. Can you hear me? No? The family has grown so much. And all of you and all of your teammates, I may not be able to come and pick you out and say your name, but I've heard your name. I know who you are, and Bubby truly loved you. We got married, 82. We had our children, two kids, Tony and Deanna. And that wasn't the end of our family. All of you are a part of his family. The team he coached at Morgan for 11 years, they're a part of his family. The team he coached in what was the league? The youth baseball league and the youth football league. All of those children, some of them are police officers, are teachers, and it makes me feel old. But Bubby loved people. He loved children. He loved giving, and he gave his all. He truly did. He gave his all. And just so you know, although Bubby was in respite, I want you guys to know that he was still lifting weights. In the hospital, he was still lifting weights. He had me bring my weights. It was a hard fight. It was a good life. I love him forever, and I know he loves you forever. Coach, you asked me to bring something for the museum, and we did. Can I show you now? as y'all said, Bubby was a big man. But I want you to know his heart was just as big. And I think you all know that. So we got one of the pictures. This is a gift for the museum. It's a picture of Bubby. And for all those young men wanting to play ball, his career in professional ball was short. He never asked the Lord to give him so much time. He didn't say, Lord, I want 10 years in professional ball. He just wanted to make it, and he made it. And thanks to the character and the love and the direction of his coaches and his co-players, his teammates, he made it. And I just want to say thank you. And a lot of people give to the museums helmets. Well, I thought that helmets all look the same size. They may not be, but they look the same size. But I said, what better than to see the size of the man's foot? Bubby wore size 15. Yes. Bubby wore size 15. I'm sorry, the other one walked away. But Bubby wore size 15. And his heart was even bigger. I just want y'all to know that. And this is this goes to the museum as well. And this was my first time seeing it because I had all my family working. So you can identify the shoe and the picture.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Might know this poem. This is the beginning of a new day. Are you all familiar with that? This is the beginning of a new day. I have this day to do as I will. I can waste it or use it for good, because what I do today is important, because I'm exchanging a day of my life for it. When tomorrow comes, this day will be gone forever, leaving in its place something I have traded for it. I want it to be gain, not loss, good, not evil, success, not failure, in order that I shall not regret the price that I paid for it, because the future is a whole string of math.
Thank you both very much. Thank you, Nancy Green and Anthony Green. Coach Ed Andrews. Ed is going to introduce both Brian and Bob because Brian is unable to be here today, but Coach is going to handle both.
This is working good. Hold up to that. Yes. Today is the beginning of a new day, that's for sure. Nice pal. Congratulate all the inductees for this ceremony, and I want to thank the All South Jersey Museum for having this affair. It's very nice. I feel very excited and privileged to introduce Bob and Brian into the all sports of Southern New Jersey. I want to acknowledge Brian's parents, Barb and Tony Serace, if you would stand. Parents of these two fine young men that were responsible for instilling in Brian and Bob and discipline, character, maintaining good grades, and a true desire to excel in whatever they do. Now, going first with Brian. Brian was an outstanding scholar athlete at Mobile Senior High School, graduating in 1991. He's accumulating 4 varsity letters. Brian excelled in the classroom and on the athletic field, but especially on the gridiron. Brian participated in varsity football during his sophomore, junior, and senior seasons. As a center and linebacker on the football field, after his junior year, Brian was named first team All-Area by the Daily Journal, first team all-conference in the Cape Atlantic League, all-county offense and defense by the Atlantic City Press, and second team all-area by the Atlantic City Press. Brian's senior year accomplishments include first team all-state by the New Jersey Football Coaches Association, and third team all-state and all group 4 by the Courier Post. He was defensive player of the year by the Atlantic City Press, all conference by the Atlantic City Press, and all conference by the Cape Atlantic League. Brian matriculated at Princeton University, where he played football for 2 years, and then transferred to Gettysburg, where he was named first team all conference his senior season. After graduating from Gettysburg in '95, Brian received his master's degree in Springfield College. And was an assistant coach there, as well as King's College, Rensselaer Polytech Institute, Northeastern University, and Rutgers. And finally, Fairleigh Dickinson. He was the head football coach at Fairleigh Dickinson from 2011 to 2018. Brian is married to Susan McAllister Serace, and they have 2 children, a son, Will, 9 years old, and a daughter, Taylor. They presently live in Massachusetts. So, Brian Serace, congratulations. Yep.
As was mentioned, Brian sends his regrets not being able to be here. Just took a new position, completely different than what he's ever done before, and has work obligations up in Massachusetts. So that was a little difficult for him to get here, but he wanted me to read this brief acceptance. Thank you to Dave Hitchner and the All Sports Museum for honoring him with induction into the Hall of Fame. Congratulate the other inductees. Great class for me to go in with. Bubba was his favorite player. Get an opportunity. There's a picture, 1975. Brian was 3 years old. He's standing there with Big Bubba, a classic picture. And of course, there's one up there with Bob's favorite player, Jim McCormick, from 1975. So at any rate, he's very thankful to be inducted with them. Again, apologies for not being able to attend. As he grew up in Millville, being the son of a coach, I was fortunate to have a lot of coaches to influence me throughout my entire life. Having influential youth sport coaches were important during my early playing career, including but not limited to Coach Jim Parent, Dennis LaSpada, Larry Andrews, Henry Pettit, who instilled love, passion of sports that I took with me throughout my high school career. Coach McCluskey, Coach Caldwell taught me how to drive. Coach Nugent taught me the importance of checking to make sure everyone on the team was properly equipped. And you guys know what Coach Nugent would do to make sure you were equipped properly. Coach Hoover, Coach Corson, taught me history, biology, but more importantly, to keep things light and happy, especially with my type A personality. Coach Trout taught me the value of persistence, because without his constant badgering to my father, I would never have made it to varsity baseball. I don't know if that's true, but that's what he wrote. Coach Creek taught me the scientific way of doing everything with his PhD background. And of course, with this knowledge, he even taught our offensive line how to block the concrete JV baseball backstop. Coach Sharpless taught me toughness, but always kidded me about bringing my mother flowers when I was born. Coach Hogan was my godfather, taught me the value of studying everything, and I mean everything, and those of us that know Coach Hogan, we know how meticulous he was. Coach Andrews taught me the value of relationships, how to connect with people. He once said that I bleed orange and blue. I couldn't have been more proud of a statement said about me. And finally, for my dad, I learned the value of having a good memory, since he once lost the game plan before the Vineland game. But I found it, and we won. I should have edited this. Vineland is the greatest team, football is the greatest team sport there is. I'd like to thank my teammates I played with in football and in all sports that I played. The things we remember as athletes aren't the wins and the losses, but the times we spent with our teammates, whether it was in the locker room, in the weight room, in the hallway, outside the building after school, pre-game meetings, bus rides to and from games, pre-game meals, before game day. These are the most cherished and vivid memories of my time as an athlete at Millville. Finally, nothing could take away the moments as teammates when we were together during the games in the huddle, pre-game walks to the field, post-game feeling that you could celebrate together or pick each other up after a tough loss. You don't get an award like this without having great coaches and teammates throughout your entire life, and I would like to thank all of them for what they did for me to help make me the person I am. Finally, I'd like to thank my mom and dad, my brother for instilling in me the values that are still with me today and for being tremendous role models throughout my life. They were very supportive of me in everything I did, saw the value of playing sports throughout my life. I would also like to thank my wife Sue, son Will, daughter Taylor for being so special in my life. Thank you.
This is still not working.
I don't think so.
I think Bob was destined to be a football coach. I know one time in practice, he came to me, I think we were going to play Holy Spirit, Delaware went to, he said, Coach, I've been watching movies of the Holy Spirit team, and if you watch the guards, they'll take you to the play every time. Is that right? He said, yeah. I said, well, we practiced it, we looked at the film, and sure enough, watch the guards, they'll take you to the ball. Sure enough, in that game against Holy Spirit, Bob had 20 tackles, 2 for losses, and played an outstanding game for Holy Spirit, for Millville against Holy Spirit, who won the game. Another time, playing Absegami before, he said, Coach, you see, watch the guards, they're going to sit back, and it's going to be a pass play. Sure enough, we watched the guards. Quarterback was very good for the team that we were going against. Bob then in that game had 2 interceptions, quarterback sack, played a great game against Absegami, we won the game. So even though he graduated from Princeton University, and Mom and Dad probably thought he would go on to be a doctor, a politician, an attorney, it turns out he could have gone to Westchester and been a football coach. But anyway, Bob Serace presently now is the head football coach at Princeton University. Some just interesting things. He's guided Princeton to a title in 2013, 2016, 2018, and 2021 to the Ivy League Championship. He led the Princeton Tigers to a 10-0 season in 2018, the first perfect season of Princeton since 1964. Princeton has reached number 8 ranking in 2018, the highest since 1978. In 2012 and 2013, 2016, and 2018, he was a finalist for the Eddie Robinson Jr. National Football Coach of the Year. In 2016 and 2018, he was the Ivy League Head Coach of the Year. He's coached 2 highest scoring offenses in Ivy League history, 2018 and 2013. 9 straight seasons of 500 or better. He's one of 2 people in the Ivy League to have been a player and a coach in the same team. So I would like to congratulate Bob Serace for this induction.
Use my coach's voice. My dad's coaches are, they're family, right? And Coach Andrews and I always had such a special relationship. And, he says like becoming a coach, but every Sunday the Millville staff was in my house. And you'd see now we call it analytics, but Coach Hogan was like by hand breaking down everything on the hashes, the numbers, everything else. And I'd always sneak up from watching, the NFL games. I'd sneak upstairs and just listen to them go through all the data, all the decisions they were going to make. And, fortunately they had a lot of great players, but the amount of time they spent putting into that, the preparation, and these moments. Every Thursday, Mr. Quinn would have that TV show, and the guys would come over. And you saw it was more than just the games. It was more just wins and losses. It was this Millville family, and how important the Millville family was, and the Millville football or Millville baseball family. Like, I love football. I love football more than baseball. But, man, when I was growing up, every Saturday as a kid, I got to go to Jim's lunch with my dad and Coach Andrews before a game, right? Or a practice or whatever it was. Like, that was, school was over, it was a weekend, and Saturday morning we were going to Jim's lunch before they were going to have practice. And they would just talk about life, talk about the team, talk about sports, talk about players. But you see in sports, and whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, all those things. My mom really was not very happy when I went into coaching. Those were her exact words that Coach Andrews said. My mom's exact words were that, but it's about making an impact. And you see it from all the coaches, my dad, but you see the community that was built amongst those teams, right? And I'm very honored and grateful for, you think about my life. I don't have a lot of hobbies. I'm like my dad this way, but you use the words like all sports. I don't have a lot of hobbies but sports that way. My wife Lisa, who's here, knows I love museums, right? I drive them nuts when we go someplace. I'm a history major that way. And I have this deep affection for where I'm from, being from South Jersey, being from Millville, being Millville Day. And it started when I was a kid, and Craig Atkinson, who I absolutely love, he's like, I thought I was your favorite player. And I in my mind, I'm thinking, in practice, I'd watch him throw the ball. He was my favorite player in practice, but he never got to do that in the game. I mean, those plays were never run. I had to go to Westchester to see him throw the football, and watch him do that. My mom's going to get mad at me for saying this, but you see the big difference between my brother and I. And you can kind of see it when you look at those pictures. 75 was probably 7 years old. It's probably about the time when I really started understanding football a little bit more and loving football. And you love the team. And I'm in the locker room. I got to travel to the games. The bus rides back were some of the most fun memories of my entire life, being on the bus ride. And that team was really the first time, we do that. And you get to kind of pick your favorite player, who you want to become. Like, I'm going to wear orange and blue. I'm going to play for Millville. Who you want to become? And like you saw my parents stand up. I'm not going to run like Calvin Murray. I'm not going to be able to throw the ball like Rich Andrews. And then you look at Bubba, who's 6'5", 275. I'm not going to, they're not big. I'm not going to be like that. I chose Jim McCormick. You just have to be one tough son of a gun to be like Jim McCormick. My brother was never going to be like Bubba Green. like he was not the smart one. I picked a guy that you could emulate, and I could be like 33 maybe. I was never as good as Jim. I will be the first one to admit that. He was incredible to watch, incredible to be a part of, such a great leader. To this day, you know, and you see that, all the things he does with the Thunderbolt Club, bringing people back. It's just amazing, you know, the thought of this community, this family, this Millville family, and what he's done with that. And I admire Jim. I wanted, you know, Coach Andrews, my dad, the other coaches, no, I wanted to be like him that way in terms of that. And I wish I could have been like Bubba as well. Like, you know, I was never going to be that big and play those positions as well as he did. But just, you know, you're just grateful to be, you know, you don't get to choose as a kid where you're going to grow up, right? Like, none of us got to choose where we're going to grow up. You know, there's a lot of fortune. You know, my dad getting a job in Millville. The other thing about that is, like, my college roommates, my colleagues at work, they know how much I value Millville. You know, Lisa's, you know, blue shirt, right? Like, you're like that blue. I must have, growing up, a dozen shirts in that blue, which is awesome, by the way, that say Millville with a football and pride, right? Millville and a football and pride. And you know, you think about life. We all, at some point, we work on teams. Doesn't matter what work you're on. You're working on teams. And I grew up around teams. I grew up around football and baseball teams. And I loved it. I couldn't have had a better childhood. You know, things to this day, as I read guys that are 18 to 22, you know, I go back to the memories of being in those locker rooms and seeing, you know, listening to my dad or the other coaches' pregame speeches. You know, I mean, there were times when I was like 10 years old, and I'd see these guys hear this speech, they just stormed out of the building, couldn't wait to beat a Vineland or a Bridgeton or the team they were playing that week in terms of that. I saw his teams, like, just come together, right? There's something to teams that play together. Like, you know, the head coach, everybody has a role, but those championship teams I've gotten to coach, right? The undefeated team I got to coach, they shared the same characteristics that 75 had, right? Shared the same characteristics, and there was talent, believe me. And there were amazing assistant coaches, but there was a culture, like, and it comes from the players, it comes from the leaders, it comes from, you know, Ronnie Lamb and Jim and Rich, you know, as their leadership as captains. And it comes from, you know, not just the star players, and there were certainly some amazing star players. It comes from the unsung players, the role players. And, you know, I'm getting to do what my dad did at a college and seeing our guys have that same culture, that same feeling, that same want to come back and be around each other. And you know, I think anybody who's played Millville football, they got pride, right? And they got pride in their city, and they care about Millville. And it's, you know, I've had a lot of orange. I've blue's kind of gone out of my color scheme, but my entire life, almost every team I've coached has had orange in it, right? And there's something to it that you kind of bleed that orange. And, you know, you get back here, and I wore my college roommates out with stories about Millville. They used to come to the Thanksgiving Day games and couldn't believe, like, the stories I talked about, this community coming back and the parade and the things that were talked about today, how important it was for us to bond. And sports do that, right? Sports teams can do that at the highest level. They can bring a community together. You know, I was right away congratulating Dennis after he won the state title this year. Like that was awesome. And as a coach, it makes you feel so good that through the years we've continued to maintain this amazing tradition that, you know, Coach Barbos and the guys before him started. You know, 1970, we're talking about the 1917 team. No doubt 75 is better, but you know, we're talking about 1917. They weren't even scored upon. Amazing stuff, and we're all part of this tradition, and we're passing on to 2021 state title team, and hopefully, you know, future state title teams. So I just want to thank everybody for having me here and being a part of this. And there's such great pride when it's Bubba, it's Jimmy, it's my brother, and it's the 75 team, and really the team that me as a 7-year-old started loving football. So thank you very much.
Very well said. Reverend Kenyon, I think what we'll do is we'll have the blessing, we'll have our salads. As soon as the salads are almost finished, then we will recognize the teammates so that we can have our meal. Okay? Reverend Kenyon?
This is an honor to be here today. This is a delightful time. The only thing I'll say about it, you were mentioning the Bridgeton football games. We used to have a 5th quarter to the Bridgeton games because the games weren't long enough. And we'd bring all the youth from Bridgeton and from First Assembly in Millville, and we'd come together and we'd have a fifth quarter, and the coaches would come and share with us what had happened. It was part of Millville. I'm honored to be here today and lead you in prayer in these moments. Father, there are dedicated people that are sitting around me here today. We have all sorts of titles, from coaches to players to various players. Some have been honored in one way or another. Some of us have been looking on, but we're all filled with pride to be a part of this time today. We realize that, Lord, the investment in our youth continues on, and we pray for the youth of our city now and in the future. And in these moments, as we give you opportunity to say, Lord, thank you that we can eat together. Thank you that we can share together. Yes, we remember some of those team breakfasts. We remember as they've come together and just want to put a little extra energy into them for the day. Let there be energy that is ours today through the fellowship, through the sharing together, and through the food. We ask of this now in the name of God the Father, Jesus Christ the Son, and the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, and everyone said, Amen.
Thank you. Enjoy your salad. Scott wants the team over here to the side wall. Team members over here to the side wall for a picture.
Again, if I could have all the guys from the team, the championship team, and coaches too.
I don't know if he gave himself. He didn't tell me. I literally put it in my
South Jersey Water Conditioning Service has been dedicated to providing safe, clean, healthy water for homes and businesses since 1967. We have the knowledge, experience, and skill to solve your common water problems. Call us today to get the water you deserve.
Hey parents, there's something you should know. If you don't teach me about money, that's okay. I'll live off your nest egg for the rest of my life.
Feel confident talking to your kids about money
You're gonna find me a real one, right?
before it's too late. Get ready at td.com/kidsandmoney.
South Jersey Water Conditioning Service has been dedicated to providing safe, clean, healthy water for homes and businesses since 1967. We have the knowledge, experience, and skill to solve your common water problems. Call us today to get the water you deserve.
Hey parents, there's something you should know. If you don't teach me about money, that's okay. I'll live off your nest egg for the rest of my life.
Feel confident talking to your kids about money
You're gonna find me a real one, right?
before it's too late. Get ready at td.com/kidsandmoney.
South Jersey Water Conditioning Service has been dedicated to providing safe, clean, healthy water for homes and businesses since 1967. We have the knowledge, experience, and skill to solve your common water problems. Call us today to get the water you deserve.
Hey parents, there's something you should know. If you don't teach me about money, that's okay. I'll live off your nest egg for the rest of my life.
Feel confident talking to your kids about money
You're gonna buy me a real one, right?
before it's too late. Get ready at td.com/kidsandmoney.
South Jersey Water Conditioning Service has been dedicated to providing safe, clean, healthy water for homes and businesses since 1967. We have the knowledge, experience, and skill to solve your common water problems. Call us today to get the water you deserve.
This has been a QBC television production, in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22, and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.